Hey, welcome back to the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge. Today we have Fantastic Four. This is the original 20th Century Fox film back before Disney acquired them. This is not the first Fantastic Four film. Roger Corman made one back in 1994 uh, just to keep the rights. And it was struggled over for a good long time, and then Fox finally grabbed a hold of it, and they were doing so well with the X-Men films starting in 2000, and Sony was over there doing Spider-Man films, and they decided, hey, let's do the first family, and they did it. As to whether it was done well or not, well, it depends on who you are. It depends on whether you're already a big comic book fan and fan of the Fantastic Four specifically, or if you just like a good adventure movie that stars Jessica Alba, Ian Griffith. I never know how to pronounce his name. It's so it's so many extra letters. Michael Chiklis and Chris Evans. So not Captain America, but the ever obnoxious Johnny Storm. To me, everybody seems pretty well cast. It's just not everybody is served well with their storylines. The dialogue is so clunky. I don't know if when they write these things, they're trying to pay homage to Stanley and Jack Kirby, uh, and to be 60s style. Honestly, this doesn't feel so much like a film as it is a series of scenes thrown together that feature the Fantastic Four to show off their powers. It seems like effects showcase moments for uh, visual artists, which is fine. It also kind of the story would have kind of made more sense had it been a series. That's the one thing I worry about when it comes to making Fantastic Four again as a film through Disney, and within the MCU. We haven't cast it yet. Who am I talking about? They haven't cast it yet. We've got plenty of fan castings, but Fantastic Four almost lends itself more to a serialized story. Personally, I, I I like the idea because it's a family story, and there's a lot uh, for them to grow through. That usually isn't serviced well in a 2 hour film or less in some cases. This is from 2005, and it's an hour and 45 minutes. And part of me wants to say, please, Disney, Marvel, could you make this into a 10 episode series on Disney Plus? I kind of think the characters would be better served, but they're not going to listen to me. They don't know who I am. and but yeah, what are you gonna do? They need large showcase films for their biggest characters, and the Fantastic Four, whether you believe that or not, they are they are the first family of comics. So not just Marvel, just of comics themselves. Yeah, Superman and Batman, everybody came before, but they never were so much about family. This is a family that fights amongst itself constantly. You have siblings, you have best friends, you have lovers, and there's lots of conflict to be had there. And of course, then there's Doctor Doom, the villain, Victor Von Doom, played by, say his name, Julian McMahon, and he's got sort of he's not. You'd expect Doom to have a European sort of haughty charm to him, but he's not European at all. I don't know if Fox is afraid of accents or something, because they make it clear that he's from Latveria, a fake country off in Eastern Europe. Um, instead of Latvia, which is a country that I don't even know if it exists anymore, but Latveria is the country in which Doom is from. Uh, and everybody's kind of, by the time we step in and we just meet the characters, and of course we have to show the origin of their powers. The characters have already known each other for many years, as we found out in the original Fantastic Four comic. But in this Reed and Sue have already had a failed relationship. Sue is with Doom for some reason, one of Reed's old college buddies, and Ben is like Reed's best friend. I mean, this is all tracks, and Johnny and Sue are brother and sister. Uh, it just, I don't know. It just, they do get the dynamics down, the conflicts between Reed and, no, sorry, between Johnny and Ben, Human Torch, and the Thing. That prankster-ish attitude Johnny has, and just getting on each other's nerves. That's there, and it's mostly done in montage form when they're all told that they need to stay inside, and as Reed prepares to try to change them back into non-superheroic humans. Mostly for Ben's sake, because Ben is a monster and he's unlovable and he hates himself and he's angry at Reed for just being for just Doom sitting down in a diner with him and telling them that it's all Reed's fault. And of course, being his best friend, Ben immediately believes that Reed, his best friend, is to blame for everything. Reed blames himself, in which, again, this all tracks with the comic and everything else. But part of me, just, like the other Fantastic Four movie that came out in 2015, which was like body horror and just like the other end of the spectrum. This is more cartoony, and silly and funny, and allows for the tone of it just changes consistently. And there's a big battle that ends with cold water being poured on hot metal. That's also human skin. I gave away the ending, but seriously, if you wanted to see this film, you've already seen it. If you haven't, well, you probably don't care, and you probably want to be watching this anyway. So, I'd say this is a nice effort, and the casting is great. I love the actors. I love Chicky. I love Michael Chiklis and Chris Evans and Jessica Alba and Ian Griffin and Julie McMahon. And oh, by the way, Alicia Masters is played by Kerry Washington from Scandal fame and everything else. She's Alicia Masters. She's a blind sculptress who falls in love with Ben Grimm, who has literally no development other than running into him at a bar, buying his drink, him realizing she's blind and going, "You wouldn't like me if you could see me." And then she gets to touch him, his rocky body. And the next time we see her is at the end of the movie on a boat with the rest of the cast, celebrating them defeating Doom. And they're already like lovey-dovey. I don't know. I mean, there's like no development whatsoever. There was probably, I think, some deleted scenes that were seen maybe in other countries or just never seen at all, that involved her. But I guess it's all meant to be a happy ending, so that you feel good for Ben, even though he gets to stay a monster the entire time. He remains the Thing. He doesn't get to turn his powers off. So yeah, to me, it's one of those weird situations where I think Fox doesn't really know what to do with their property. They've got the mutants down pretty well at this point, although I think at this point they're about the same year they're about to bring out X-Men 3. Okay, maybe they weren't really on the ball on that one, but they had cast Hugh Jackman and Patrick Stewart and everybody else beautifully for X-Men. For this, at least in order to draw viewers or to give more positive, I guess, tracking, I guess, they put Johnny in a lot of extreme scenes where he's snowboarding with Menounos. Maria Menounos. He's snowboarding when he learns that he has his powers, and then he does like BMX bike tricks, not BMX, but motorcycle jumps and tricks, and it's like it's all so extreme. like we gotta like, oh no, it's movies for the comic book nerds, but let's make sure some jocks show up too, who love the extreme sports. And there's all sorts of, by the way, all sorts of product placement throughout this. Uh, Thing punches Johnny at one point into a Burger King billboard that's like something about flame broiling, or it's so whatever. It's a dumb little joke, but it's right next to a Mountain Dew ad, which is right next to another ad, which is next to another ad. And yes, it's at the outside of a motorcycle event stadium where there's always sponsorship, but it's honestly sponsorship that was paid for to pay for this movie, which critically didn't do well. I don't think it sold. I don't think it sold a lot of tickets either. Really wanted it to be good, but it's not. I mean, the last time I watched this was maybe about 5 years ago with friends of mine who we were watching every single modern Marvel film in grouped by team. Like we watched Blade. We even watched that Hidden Lost Man Thing film, which go ahead and find it. Uh, then there we watched we watched all the Blade films, Man Thing, Spider-Man films, Fantastic Four, X-Men films, all that we could leading up, and then we watched all the MCU stuff. So yeah, this is not one of its high points. And again, this is just honestly just a few years before the MCU debuts on their own Marvel Studios, and changes the game for everything. So I'm really hoping that the next Fantastic Four film does what it's supposed to, and keeps the attitude of family, the point of family and heroics despite what they're saddled with, science, adventure, exploration. Reed Richards needs to be the smartest man in on Earth, at least, and he needs to be able to get themselves out of trouble with science, not just being stretchy. Um, and also, by the way, we're now the audience we know that is not just 12-year-old boys or younger. So there's no reason to get Sue Storm naked every time she's supposed to turn invisible, because I think it's happened 2 or 3 times where she had to, oh, Sue, in order to turn invisible, you need to, your clothes don't turn invisible too, so you're gonna have to take off your clothes. And then Johnny talks about needing therapy, but he still picks up all of her clothes and takes it with him. And by the way, the whole purpose for her to turn invisible the first time, and get naked, to walk through a crowd on a bridge to get to another side so they can see Ben, she had to be invisible. But then once she's on the other side, she has her clothes back, and somehow the guys just walked over. Like, what did that do? What was the whole point of that? If she was supposed to, I don't know. It's dumb. We're not going to see Jessica Alba naked in a Fantastic Four film. It's just the way it's going to be. So don't tease us with that, and don't assume that everybody watching this is going to go, "Ooh, we're going to see boobies." No, come on. If we see another scene like that in the next Fantastic Four film, just don't bother making it, please. It's just dumb, and it's demeaning. I mean, Sue Storm is a force to be reckoned with, and she is easily the most powerful member of the Fantastic Four. Yes, this is the first few days in which they know they have powers and what they're capable of, and even Doom is starting to understand that he's turning into a metal electric man. I don't know, who makes lights dim a lot. And yes, I've said this before. Marvel, please do not make the villain for the next Fantastic Four film. Do not make him Doom. Do not have Doom show up. You can make a reference to him. Maybe you can see him. I don't know, but we don't need an origins, no spaceships, no alternate dimensions, no negative zone, none of that. We don't need to see how or why he got in the armor he's in. We don't need to understand his rivalry with Reed right off the bat. We know who they are, what they're all about. You can accentuate the differences of these characters compared to what they've already appeared as in the previous 3-4 films. But beyond that, obviously subtly, not say, hey, you remember that other film? This is how Reed Richards is slightly different. No, just get beyond that. Tell an adventure story about adventure and exploration, science, and just big ideas. Just has to be freaking big ideas. And the MCU is already in that realm. So to add in Reed and everybody else it's going to make it so much easier now. And I think just give it a shot. You don't have to be puerile. You don't have to be goofy. Yes, humor is an essential part of this team. Inner conflict, an essential part of this team. But again, I think for its time, maybe it made sense when the people writing these stories honestly probably didn't read them, never read the stories more than a few weeks before they wrote the script. I don't know. I mean, Mark Frost and I don't know who if they knew all this stuff beforehand, but seriously, just this movie did not do what it was supposed to do. It has flourishes of greatness. There's some really funny and cool bits about it that are 100% Fantastic Four. Willie Lumpkin, the mailman, played by Stan Lee. Great. That's a great, perfect casting for just a little role because, hey, Stan does all the cameos, making him an actual character with an actual name, kind of cool. But this bar is fairly low at this point. 2015 went lower, so you can't really super screw it up on the next version within the MCU, but you got to do better. This one, despite the cast and everything they had at their disposal, it just doesn't do the job. And I don't know why the sequel to this, Rise of the Silver Surfer, is not on here. It's not on Disney Plus, but I don't know. We'll have to figure that out. There's reasons for these things. Maybe we're going to see the Fantastic Four or the Silver Surfer in another setting soon. Don't know. Anyway, we're going to pick tomorrow's episode. I've said enough about this Fantastic Four. And honestly, the Silver Surfer one isn't really much better. It's a body swap story, but whatever. Or a power swap story. And Doom is involved. By the way, just like I've said this before many times when we've talked about the Fantastic Four, when Doom shows up, like I said, he shouldn't be in the next movie. When Doom shows up, he needs to be the Thanos level big bad that connects all the films in phase 4, 5, 6, whatever it is, whenever they decide to culminate everything and make it the big battle like we did with Endgame. Doom has to be behind it all. I don't care if Galactus is more powerful than everybody. It's got to be Doom pulling the strings, sucking all the power out of Galactus if he can, facing off with Captain Marvel and especially the Fantastic Four. That's important, but don't make him just a guy that you freeze in the middle of a street and then put him in a box and then send him on a boat to Latveria. Come on. Let's pick tomorrow's episode.
377.
Oh. Went from 177 to 377. Somewhere. There we go. Oh, okay. I've been wanting to watch this. I think this is the new series. It might be a new series or it was the recent ABC television series. I'm not sure which. Because there's so many different things involving these characters. But either way, I've seen the ABC series. I have not seen the new one that's on Disney Plus. Unless they're the same thing, I have no idea. We'll find out. But we're going to watch tomorrow, maybe a couple episodes, but I'm going to probably end up watching all of them at some point. Muppets Now. Muppets Now. On the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge. See you back here tomorrow with Muppets Now.